Welcome, everyone, to episode 46 of the SnapCast podcast with your hosts, Brad O'Brien and Mike Cooley. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Mike?
Maintaining, surviving. Things are looking better. Things are getting better. I'm pumped.
Stuff is getting better every day.
Stuff's getting better.
That was, I know. Like, I want to say everything like Rick now.
I know it. He's in the Magic lore now, so we can talk about Walking Dead and Magic the Gathering mixed together every week now. It's free reign. Free reign.
You lucky son of a gun.
If this is your first time joining us, we are a Magic the Gathering podcast where we are geared towards the competitive Magic player with a casual interest in finance. So if that is yo thing,
You're in the right place.
welcome, friend.
Hey, and if you are here, you're enjoying this, you're either listening or watching. It does help us out if you hit the like button on the videos or a subscribe button here on YouTube or on your podcast app.
And you know what also helps get you through the last stretch of the week? Besides a nice smooth drink like we always like to bring to these things here, is talking about some Magic cards and some good things that's happening. So cheers to that.
When you're on the third day of Tuesday in the fourth month of March in the year 2020, that's been going on for like 4 years.
Month of March.
This is the fourth month of March,
Yep.
and it's seriously like the craziness that's going on right now with the election. It's taking days.
Oh yeah. Stock market's loving it, and the Magic card market is apparently loving it. They don't give a shit. Some crazy shit's been happening, and I know they're not related. However, it's an awful coincidence that in these moments of turmoil, we get rewarded by the most crazy good things.
We did. So we were thinking this week we might start off with looking at a few. So Mike has got our intro down now. That, you know, we are competitive players in that we're just competitive people. We want to win when we play. And you know what there hasn't been a whole lot of is good competitive Magic. But we wanted to look at some deck lists, see what people are playing, sort of get back to a part of our roots in this cast and say, what is going on out there? Is there some new tech? Is there something fun? Is there a card that's being underappreciated? And so we thought we might take a look over at MTG Top 8.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite sites. Brad actually pointed out, I've always known that these guys have a search feature on their website where, like, you can kind of look at certain cards that are in decks. I used to do that all the time, but there is a different type of search that you can do with MTG Top 8, which I thought was really cool, especially if you're looking for, like, kind of a different way to look at competitive cards that are being used in actual competitive tournaments. And you can see like a very nicely queried list of very specific types of cards. It's really cool. So how did you get there again? I remembered the ends, but I didn't remember the means.
So we're on MTG Top 8, and if you pick any flavor of Magic that you like, any of the formats, so here I'm going to shoot to Modern. Modern is ostensibly my favorite format, even though I've only played EDH for the last, I don't know how long. You have the metagame breakdown, last major events, last 10 events, related links, which is cool. And they have this section over here that's most played cards.
This is so crazy because I have been here a million times and I've never noticed this. Like, there's this little link below that little area that says most played cards. There's this little link you can click, and Brad's hovering over it right now. And it just says, would you like to know more?
Would you like to play a game?
It's so
Would
enticing.
you like to know more?
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
Exactly.
So what you're seeing here, and just to point out in the most played cards section, are the top played cards in the format. It's a lightning bolt format, no doubt about it. Wooded Foothills, fetches red. Path to Exile. So most played cards look fetch land, fetch land, fetch land, shock land, snow-covered land, land. Okay.
Did we make a Starship Troopers reference and I didn't even know it?
Did we?
I think so, dude. I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure Mr. Clark does. And he pointed that out. Maybe that's exactly what they're referencing. Would you like to know more? Yeah, that's exactly what that's. I knew this was way more provocative than it looked on its face. Like there's something behind that. They don't want you to know that this like sweet search engine exists on this site.
So now I've clicked on, I answered the question, yes, I would like to know more. And the nice thing about this is you have all of these sweet filter options.
Look at that, man.
So here you can choose format again if you want to check standard, historic, pioneer. We can play around with that. Modern, last 2 months, last 2 weeks, last major events, live tournaments only, all 2020 decks.
Wow.
That's
so crazy.
So in the last 2 months, main deck of all colors, all types of cards of any rarity, including lands, Lightning Bolt was the most played card.
So I just want to say this is really cool coming from someone who I use this site right here to figure out what types of decks I want to play in any given metagame. Like before I go or used to go to a Star City Open or something, I'd be like, well, what are they playing in Legacy on MTG Top 8? The fact that now I can be like, okay, I can look at this entirely differently. And you have all of these little controls here. You can switch the format or whatever. But most importantly, the time ranges that these were played in competitive tournaments. It's like, oh, what was played in the last week? Like, and you can see, oh man, this is the most popular card this week. And it's one maybe that was just printed or something. And you're like, oh, well, then not only are you using it as like a deck building, or deck choosing engine, you might even be able to spec on some cards that way, man. This is just a new way to look at it.
Yeah. So I have used this site time and again to look at what sideboard tech other humans players have been using, how, especially when mana bases were in question, you could look, and we can look at that too, maybe later on today, look at all the different deck builds side by side. But I love this. So modern last 2 months, main deck white cards of any type. Path to Exile most played. Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Teferi Time Raveler. Doesn't surprise me, although I haven't been playing Modern much. It sort of surprises me that would be that high.
I would say us as the SnapCast aficionados over here who have been hyping up Teferi since he was printed.
It's true.
We're not really surprised that he's like the second most played card with white in his mana cost. Like, he deserves it.
That's interesting. I wonder if we actually go to all 2020 decks. What do you think?
Jam it. Let's just see what it does. Go. Go.
Go.
Oh, same thing. Yep. It's like the same list.
So the only difference here is
Stoneforge
Mystic jumps way up the list. Lightning Helix, Supreme Verdict. I love that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Giver of Runes. That's a card that actually brought me to this site earlier. 6th place for the year. If we go back to our view of the last 2 months, it jumps up.
Well, also too, if you look
top
at
5,
if you look at the top most played white creatures, right?
Okay, so we want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you could even just do it from that list. Like, look of all the top 10 there, how many are creatures? Like, look at this. Giver of Runes is in the top 3. Omnath, you really can't count him because he's white creature, but like he's. Come on, that's like too much of a mana cost to splash in anything. You kind of have to commit around that. But either way, you have Skyclave Apparition, which we had talked about
a lot last week. Yeah,
it's eating through Modern right now. It's one of the best cards ever printed for Modern, and I think very appropriately priced right now. It's definitely a $10, $11 card, but one that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense because if you look at it, it's used just about as much as that card is the Giver of Runes that you're talking about right below it. Like the difference in the usage is very insignificant.
Right. Now, and you would think Modern Horizons really printed as much as a regular fall standard set? Or is Skyclave Apparition just, it hasn't actually been around that long?
That's true. Probably a lot of people haven't cracked open as much.
Yeah.
But dude, if you guys remember, what would we be if we were a SnapCast podcast and we didn't
Flashback.
And we didn't flashback. Right? Do you guys remember when we were talking about this card, when everybody was so ticked off that Modern Horizons was being printed, again and again, and they were like, man, these cards are just worthless, and Giver of Runes went down to like $2 or $3. Mm-hmm. Remember we were looking at each other? Because it was almost an embarrassing moment, because we were talking about how good the card was.
And it actually went down in price.
Yeah, it went down in price, and it was just like it was like a $2 card. And I'm like, well, no one's going to believe us that this is good. But like, if you would have made that investment, I remember us saying, like, we were like, well, fuck it. Like, if it's that low, buy all of them. Like, buy every single one at like $2, because this is way better than a $2 card. You could have got a pretty good return on your investment there. We bought quite a bit of them, I think. Like, I think I saw your collection of them, which is pretty ridiculous.
I think I got 4 play sets at closer to $3 each.
Yep. Still, I mean, you look at it and you're like, okay, yeah, it's used so much and it's only $6.50. Well, like a few months ago, it was half that price.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, that was around the time we started putting our money where our mouth was too, because we'd make all of these like suggestions and predictions, and then we'd be like, oh, did you ever get that card? No, I didn't, dude. So we started doing that, and sure enough, dude, I had alluded to the stock market, but if you were just playing the Magic game market, like, you know what I mean, this would have been a really good investment. 50%, 100% return in the matter of a few months. Like, depending, if you got it at like $2, it's even greater than that. Like, this is just the anomaly of Magic cards, man. They never cease to amaze me.
And so I actually think that Giver of Runes is probably still a pick at almost $6. Just, I don't know when they're going to reprint it again. I didn't see it in Commander Legends. And I mean, maybe they'll reprint it again in Modern Horizons 2 just to keep it from getting extreme.
Right. I think it all depends on like where you get it, like what time you got it at, right? Like if you got it when we suggested buying those, maybe you ought to sell your Giver of Runes for like, sell your extras for double the price. You know what I mean? Because in this world where we always talk about it's hard to spec on cards because of how much they reprint shit.
Yeah.
Like this is good. Like if you went in on this and it doubled up, like that's becoming increasingly rare.
So take your double up and call it a day.
Yeah, take your double up and call it a day. And it's like we always say, if it goes up more than that, I'm happy I sold them at less. I do not feel bad about it. I still made a pretty good return.
There's certainly the concept of leaving something for the next guy and not trying to squeeze every drop of value out of a card.
Well, I see, I'm the type, I will like to squeeze every drop of value out of that card. However, that's very risky to do. Yeah. Because it could be like tomorrow they announce, by the way, Modern Horizons 2 is coming out, and guess what we're reprinting? Giver Runes again at uncommon, and then the price just goes.
So one thing that I will own up to is that Heliod has not done much despite being in the top 15 white creatures. I have a feeling that we're going to see that shift. I think it took longer to get there, but he's going to be on the up and up.
Yeah. Well, some interesting thing about Heliod, too, is we were so hyped at this guy when he was $18. We were like, oh, he's worth so much more. And after so many months, and he's no longer in Standard, right? Or is he?
No, he's in Standard.
He is, okay.
I had to play against him this morning.
Yeah, he's close to rotation, though. And
nope.
What? You're kidding me.
So everything that's in Standard now is in until next year.
So even so, that's like kind of actually
Q4
bolsters the point even more. Like it actually bolsters the point even more.
That this card is going to be worth more than it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like here it is. It was printed so long ago. Usually you see them like the longer they're in Standard, especially if they're not in a lot of Standard decks. That might have changed recently with all of the bannings with this card, but it wasn't in a lot of decks for the longest time, and it still kind of kicked around at like $16-17.
Yeah.
And like that was after the big hype that it received when it first dropped. And it's like it's still kind of maintaining that price. It's still in Standard. It still will be in Standard for another year. And it's like White Ween is kind of good right now, so I hear. It's viable. It is viable in Standard. Standard is great again.
3,
So you never
4,
know.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I love that of the 13, say the 13 most played cards with white. I'm sorry, we're looking at creatures. 13 most played white creature cards in Modern from the last few months. 6 of them have been printed in like the last year and a half. Power creep is a thing, people.
Yeah.
Power creep is a thing.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, man.
What if we were talking about white planeswalkers?
We got another thing. I can't wait to get to this because I got so much to say, but it's just a little teaser. Power creep really is a thing. And I think they crossed the line recently. They crossed a big line.
Over the line, Smokey.
That's right. And it's too powerful of a card. But we will get there in a moment. What do you think I'm talking about before we get there? Let me know. Let us know in the comments. What card do you think Cooley could say, whoa, chill out. That was a little much.
All right, we've got a couple of friends with us. It looks like we've got Jason with us, maybe some other folks. I don't want to hammer this point home, but for folks that didn't know the MTG top 8, beyond having awesome deck lists, and we can certainly talk about some of those because I found some interesting stuff there. This would you like to know more in the most played cards section is a great place to look for cards that might be up and coming in Modern.
Come to find out, the Starship Troopers link on MTG Top 8, that's our official name for it on the SnapCast podcast. You can thank Mr. Clark for that.
Most played colorless cards in Modern: Aether Vial, Walking Ballista, Mishra's Bauble, Karn the Great Creator.
Man, all those top 3 that you just mentioned are played just about as much as one another, like almost equally in the last 2 months anyway. Ballista, Vial. God, that's so stupid. Stupid good. But yeah. So that's very interesting. Keep that in the back of your mind. A very good way, very unique new way that if you wanted to sort of speculate on some cards, especially from a very popular site that a lot of people go to get their deck lists and figure out what they're going to play in the next big upcoming tournament or something. That's a interesting feature that I never knew about. So thanks for pointing that out to me, dude.
No problem.
I appreciate you.
I'm going to be honest with you, our valued listeners. I wanted to sort of just pedal around for 15 minutes and hang out until we had some of you with us to chat. Cooley has a rant he needs to go on. And before he goes on that rant, we need to read some very specific language from Wizards of the Coast.
All right. Do you know the exact name of the card that I'm talking about? Because I saw it and what it did, and I instantly tried. I do. I got scarred and it was like, forget this ever happened. Pretend it's fake. And I was like, this didn't happen. Forget it. And then I inherently named it the card that it's busted after, and I just call it that. So I hope.
So I know the card name.
Don't say it. Don't say it just
yet. I'm not going to say it yet, but I will say last Thursday, after we stopped casting, after we stopped streaming, Mike had to suffer through watching me play some Arena. And he said, dude, have you seen this card? What? They just spoiled this card. Why didn't we talk about this? And we said, well, we're going to have to talk about it next week.
Yeah. I mean, it was a late spoil. It probably happened while we were doing the cast. Maybe right as we were getting done, they spoiled it. Like it was... They don't want us talking about this stuff because they know we're going to have something to say about it, right?
Yeah.
It's either way. Mr. Clark is onto something over here. So let me read you something from the official reprint policy of Wizards of the Coast. Let me read a very specific line. I'm not going to bore you with reading it all to you, but I'm going to read a very specific line about the no reprint policy, or, the card reprinting policy of Wizards of the Coast, right? So it says, blah, blah, blah. There's a list of cards here, et cetera, et cetera. Reserved cards on this list, reserved cards will never be printed again in a functionally identical form. That's a key phrase in this that stops them from printing a card that literally does the same thing as a reserved list card with a different name. Like, that's basically why that's in there. Like, and it's also so that they, you know, it can be interpreted, I should say, as meaning that they couldn't print a functionally far better card than, you know what I mean? So for example, well, I mean,
okay.
Let me rephrase.
You go. This is all you.
Like,
baby.
they couldn't. You could make the argument that they're violating it. This is a good way to put it. You could make the argument that they are violating that clause if they say printed a land that counted as 3 different land types and tapped for 3 different types of mana and had no ill effects about it. Just comes into play untapped. One could argue that they are violating that clause of this promise, right?
Yeah.
To never reprint the card in functionally identical form because they've printed the exact same thing with an additional cool ass ability that has no drawback.
So you're saying if they printed a Triumph that just came into play untapped, it would be better than a dual land.
Right. It would technically be better than a dual land, and it could be interpreted that they violated that. So that is what I'm resting this argument on, is that these keywords in functionally identical form, meaning that what that means to me, just some dumbass layman who likes to play Magic, it means we won't print something that's even close to like the power level, you know, or exceeds the power level of this card and call it something different. That's basically what it means to me. And I truly believe in recent history, they have come the closest they ever have to violating that. I'm not going to go as far as to say, yeah, you blatantly reprinted this card, but in all functionality of how this card was used, you just reprinted it.
So before we go over to the card that you already know we're talking about, I do want to read the next sentence that I highlighted. A card is considered functionally identical if it has the same card type, subtypes, abilities, mana cost, power, and toughness.
Exactly. Like that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, so if you go back to that tri-land example, right?
Yeah.
It technically would have the same mana cost, the same abilities, plus some. You know what I mean? Even better ones. It would technically, like, they're really dancing the line with that. So the argument here is that this is the closest they've ever come to blatantly saying F you to that, I think. And the card that I'm talking about is not necessarily the card you think I might be talking about. Everybody knows at this point, the card that they are printing that I am referring to is called Jeweled Lotus.
Yeah.
This is the card that I have. I'm not going to say I have a problem with it. I love the card. I'll probably get a ton of them. But if I'm a passionate person about the reserved list, what card do you think I think they're ripping off with this? That they're in all form and functionality. It basically is a reprint of. It's everybody's going to think it's Black Lotus that I'm saying. That's not the one. I'm talking Lion's Eye Diamond. You've essentially just reprinted that in Commander. Because this is coming from someone, I use Lion's Eye Diamond in Commander, in a lot of my Commander decks.
You would, you dirty bastard.
I do. In Maelstrom Wanderer, what do you think I just puke my hand with on like turn 2? It's dumb bullshit like Lion's Eye Diamond that I don't care about my hand. I just want to cast my Commander as ungodly fast as possible, right? That's all I care about.
Yep.
Lion's Eye Diamond was used in Commander in that particular way for a lot of Commander decks. If you ever see Lion's Eye Diamond in a Commander deck, that's basically what they're trying to do. They just want to get their Commander on the board very, very quickly. Very quickly.
Well, and so like you're saying, basically it's a CEDH, competitive, super competitive EDH staple.
Exactly.
Lion's Eye Diamond.
But also, I'm not just talking about, my pet deck Maelstrom Wanderer. I'm talking about a very popular deck out there that people run, Muldrotha. It wants to do that exact same thing. Sure, they like what's in their hand, but they can just get it back from the grave, so they don't care.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But this just circumnavigates all that. Like, it just says, oh, by the way, we're just going to allow you to get it. Oh, and another good thing about Lion's Eye Diamond and Muldrotha is you can then play Lion's Eye Diamond from your graveyard right after with Muldrotha. And you can do that exact same thing with Jeweled Lotus. and it gets you to the same end through almost the exact same but better means in that deck and in many others. So my argument is they have essentially, in Commander at least, reprinted Lion's Eye Diamond.
I love that everybody probably thought we were going on Black Lotus. And you flipped it on its head.
Flip the script on you guys. I know this is not even close to Black Lotus because you couldn't use this in Eternal formats successfully. But like in all, I mean, and granted, the argument could be made for Lion's Eye that gains, you know, at least some of its value from Legacy. Legacy, Storm, bless you, my friend.
Thank you.
Even Vintage, like people run that, you know, Lion's Eye Diamond in Vintage, but not as much. Like, you know, it's good in one deck, maybe two in Legacy. But in Commander, so many Commander players abuse Lion's Eye Diamond because of how quickly you can get your Commander out with minimal drawback, with a questionable drawback in certain decks. Now take that drawback away. And here you go. No drawback, same card. Like,
don't have to pitch your hand. Get 3 mana of any one color.
Jason says, yep, I thought Black Lotus without giving it much thought. Yep. Lion's Eye Diamond is the one that I'm thinking for sure they ripped off. They've essentially, in all form and functionality in Commander, reprinted Lion's Eye Diamond.
They have also essentially, in all form and function, reprinted Black Lotus.
Maybe. But, you know, with Black Lotus, I guess, too, yeah. I mean, the same argument could be made that if you could even run Black Lotus in Commander, you'd probably just be running it to get your Commander out as soon as possible.
Yep.
Like, you know, this at least doesn't give you that free mana to cast what's in your hand as well. You know, at least your opponent kind of knows what's coming at him when you cast this.
Yeah, they know, oh, he's going to cast his Commander.
But they also, you know, in all... It works the same with Lion's Eye Diamond. You know, when someone casts a Lion's Eye Diamond, they're not casting shit in their hand. Yeah, like they're not doing that. Like, you know, so that's my argument. I think they have come the closest they ever have to violating that clause of the no reprint policy in Jeweled Lotus. I still think it's dope. I still love the card, but
so
if I'm being objective here, you guys are kind of crossing the line.
So turn 1, land. You can either play Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, and Jeweled Lotus, and you can have a turn 1 Atali the Primal Storm.
Or I think it gets even more like, how many decks have you seen that can just bust out a very expensive commander in turn 1 or turn 2? Like, pretty efficiently.
Not me. I play Nekusar. He sucks.
But, like, this just gives them one more card to do that kind of bullshit with. Like, Maelstrom Wanderer, I could theoretically do it. Theoretically with a God Draw, turn 1. Very commonly with a less God Draw, turn 2.
How many colors is Wanderer, though?
It's Teamer colors. Yeah. Yep, Teamer colors. But now this just gives you one more card because it's like, you know, Lion's Eye Diamond isn't banned. You can still use it. So you can use both. You know, I don't think Lion's Eye is going to lose any value. All I'm saying is they have really crossed the line, I think, with this, because you've essentially just printed another Lion's Eye Diamond for Commander. And like now it's going to get out of control. Can you imagine this? You could either draw Lion's Eye Diamond or Jeweled Lotus and a couple of mana rocks.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes by turn 1, but almost guaranteed by turn 2 or 3, bust out a 8 mana drop commander. Ugh. That's so stupid. Like, I love it.
Well, and I do like that there's another card that they spoiled in the set, a land that works specifically with commanders of fewer mana colors. So one of the things that this is also really good for is mono-colored commanders. Like, this really doesn't help me get out Nekusar on turn 2. It just doesn't.
I don't know.
I mean, like, I guess yes. If I went Mountain, Swamp, this on turn 2, I could get 3 red and play it.
Exactly.
Will we be ordering the Secret Lair Extra Life tomorrow? Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's well worth the money.
Does that open tomorrow? I thought I put it on my calendar. I think it's worth the money just because, I want the Teferi's protection for my collection. I think it's worth it at least to have one. I don't know that I'm going to do the whole 4 sets to have play sets.
Yeah, it's a little expensive at $60 to do that kind of stuff with, but I think appropriately priced so that people don't go and buy 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of these handful of cards and drain the market before anyone gets
that might be the play set of collected company that I want to keep though for my playable set of collected companies. So I might.
But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy $240 worth of those cards. You can always just wait till someone to buy it and the price drop and then trade it to or buy it on eBay. You know what I mean?
Just get 3 other copies of that on TCG Player and sell my other. What was the other promo printing of that I think that I have 1 copy of plus my original?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about now, but I'm never gonna know
never
gonna be able to name the printing. But,
so the answer to your question, Brad, is yes. Hopefully my Google reminder still pops up and says this is on sale and to order it.
I think it's a good deal. Like I think it's a good deal. They really pick some good cards there, and it's also a really good cause. And if you're a real stingy bastard like me, it's also a tax write-off because half of your money is going to you're making technically a donation with it.
Find a way.
Right.
So not only did they reprint Black Lotus for Commander, not only did they break the reserve list by reprinting both Black Lotus and effectively Lion's Eye Diamond, there are some other awesome reprints in this set. So last week,
can we just explain this for the listeners here in case you guys were always wondering, if you're just listening to the audio of this podcast and you're wondering why the hell I'm so cranked up about Jeweled Lotus. Let me just read you quickly what it does, and then I'm going to leave you with that, and you can decide for yourself. You know what Lion's Eye does? It's a Black Lotus that makes you discard your hand first, right? Jeweled Lotus is this. Same mana cost, 0 drop artifact. Tap, sacrifice it, not even exile it, sacrifice it, add 3 mana of any one color, but you can only spend it to cast your commander. Black Lotus, but you have to cast your commander with it. Okay, sign me up. Such a drawback. I'm going to leave you guys with that, and we're going to go on to some more spoilers here.
So last week we talked a lot about some of the random stuff that had been spoiled in this set. I thought, this week instead of trying to go through all of these cool cards and figure out what's going to be cool and what's going to be playable,
and listen to me say the word trash 10 times in a row.
Yeah. Although there are some of these that really do get me hot and bothered, like a Chroma actually. But one of the things that we talked about Vampiric Tutor last week as a reprint last week. Look at what's right next to it now on Mythic Spoiler.
That's nasty. That's nasty. So if you guys are listening to this, we are looking at Mana Drain, another printing of this beautiful, beautiful counterspell.
No, you're definitely not wrong, Brad. I know you said actually last week that you had gone back and watched a bunch of the back catalog. But we had a whole, at least one whole episode on picking up cards after reprints, and because that they have value. Mana Drain, Vampiric Tutor, they're just going to have value forever. And they're never going to be cheaper than they are shortly after a reprint.
Right. But I mean, also, if we're thinking value, right? Like, one of 2 things is going to happen with this Lotus card that we talked about. It's either going to get banned, or they're never going to print it again for a long time.
You think?
Because it's going to have.
I don't know. I think it might be. So that's interesting. We could debate on that.
You think it's going to be the next Soul Ring? They're going to put that
exactly
in
right.
Oh my God, that would be. I mean, I guess if they do that and there's so much hype around it, at that point, I guess maybe you're right. Maybe you do have to either ban it or give everybody access to it. Make it a Soul Ring.
Right now, so we didn't even look at that, but right now those Jeweled Lotuses are selling for over $100 pre-order.
Jesus. Holy.
Foils over $300 in pre-order.
Yeah.
Which
is ironically
$200. Some of them are down to $200 now.
Which is oddly enough very close to the price that we told you to pick up Lion's Eye Diamond at.
It's true. We did suggest buying Lion's Eye Diamond back when it was $200. That would have been a good pickup.
Yeah. Another little snap flashback here.
Another little flashback.
Little flashback from the SnapCast over here.
So we looked back at what Mana Drain, the lowest that the last reprint of Mana Drain had gotten down to. And it looked like, when it came out, it was about $70. It got down to the low 50s, 55. It looks like 55 was the lowest, man.
Damn, Brad says it's $1,000 for that full art foil of that Lotus. Damn. People aren't underestimating that card.
What?
They're not underestimating it.
I didn't even look for the extended art. That's
so nasty. But yeah, so this went down to like between $50 and $60 when they reprinted it in the Master set. Which honestly, around that time, you could actually get the Italian Legends version of it for about that price too.
Yeah. So, what do we think that this reprint's going to get down to? Less or more?
Hard telling, not knowing. However, I would say it would probably be pretty comparable, depending on what the MSRP of this is. Like if you're
Wizards doesn't do MSRPs anymore.
Really? Okay. Well, hard telling, not knowing what the price of this is going to be. If we're talking a $20, $30 commander deck that you can go buy on a Walmart shelf.
Ooh, yeah.
I think for
that's
sure.
Interesting, because I think that they did just announce the precons. I don't know.
I mean, I know this is going to be in booster packs too, which adds a little bit of.
It's draft packs.
Yeah, it's like they're going to have this in packs, but I'm not sure if they're doing any like pre-constructed versions of this set with like certain commanders. Did you say they announced something like this?
Yeah, I'm looking right now at 2 of the precons, looking at spells.
Is there a mana drain popping around in some of these? This is a red-white, so it wouldn't be in there. Is the Lotus in there? God damn, that would be stupid. Looking at Jeweled Lotus. We're looking for Jeweled Lotus in these lists, and we're looking for mana drain.
No. So they want you to buy the packs.
Yep.
They want you to buy the packs. But, so I suppose I could do everybody the favor and show you what I'm showing you. We're on MTG Goldfish now.
So we're looking at these lists that they have announced as, like, this is...
Precon decks.
Yeah, they're going to release these with this set.
So it looks like there's 2. I'll go back to the article for everybody here.
So they're only releasing the 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So that could protect the price of some of these, like, treasure hunter cards.
But, goddamn, there goes Ramanap Excavator.
Ah, man. I
was $12.
Was really pumped about that card.
It's funny that so far that's the most valuable card I see in here.
They almost want you to buy they want you to crack some packs with this list right here and go get Mana Drain because they have Arcane Denial, Counterspell. I wonder what would supplement this deck very well. Mana Drain. Yeah, well done, actually. Well done. I like the way they designed that. So they encourage people to buy the packs on top of these precons. But they essentially almost, I see where you're going with this. They're kind of killing the value of the, depending on what they charge for these precons, they're kind of killing the value of the cards that are in them. Soul Ring, as you would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
SRAM Senior Artificer? No, I just bought 4 of them. No.
I know. See, the thing that always makes me feel good, though, I went on SRAMs and spec'd on foils because they never do foils in
these commander
sets. The commander reprints, the whatever, the standard decks. Mm-hmm. They don't reprint the foils. That's
a good point.
That's
but they got some very good value stuff in here. I mean, of course, Soul Ring, which you would expect from like any commander precon. But then, like, Boros Charm, Abrade, Swords to Plowshares, Condemn. Yeah. Like, Condemn wasn't ever too expensive. But
damn it.
Volcanic Fallout in this deck. Relentless Assault, never really too expensive, but, like, it never will be now. Yeah. Like, Return to Dust, that's another pretty big commander staple. They're reprinting that in this. Yeah, dude, wow.
Yeah, so these look like they'll be good precons.
Sigarda's Aid, what?
Yeah.
What? They're reprinting that in this precon. Oh my gosh.
They're just out to screw me over. But so we looked at the deck list. They're not in there.
At least give us Uro in this green blue deck.
So focusing on the reprints, cards that you're going to be able to get shortly after this comes out at a decent price. Mana Drain, Vampiric Tutor.
So now knowing the full list, if that is a full list of all of the precons, I would say it's probably going to be about the same. The $50, $60 range is what this will bottom out at. I don't mean it's going to be there for long, but I bet it will probably bottom out at around $60. Mana Drain. And probably Vampiric Tutor by that same logic.
I wonder how much they're going to print this set. The problem is people aren't going to be drafting it, so they're only going to be cracking packs.
Yeah.
If people could actually draft this set like full on across the country, I would think it could actually get down closer to 40.
Staff of Domination at $11.
Did I pass it already?
What?
Wait, what? You saw that?
No, that's what Brad had mentioned. Staff of Domination is down to $11 now. What did that used to be? Like $30, $40? At least. Way more than that, actually.
So, it's funny. I'm just scrolling down the list. I know there are certain things that I'm looking for. As a total aside, I was thinking earlier today about making a deck with stuff like Skilled Animator and the Ozolith. And so that you can play out all your creatures with counters and flying counters and first strike counters. You know, you can put your Stone Coil Serpents out there, get all those counters on the Ozolith, play your Skilled Animator and bash them with the Ozolith.
God damn. Get out of
Sorry.
town.
Okay.
Get out of town.
That's just Magic Christmas Land Brad's been drinking.
Yep.
Okay.
I love that Magic Christmas Land stuff, though.
Preordain. We talked about that last
Flash
week.
Bag. The wannabe Force of Will looked like Force of Will in its artwork. Forceful Denial. I got so excited because I was like, it says Force and it looks like Force of Will. It's got to be good. Don't be fooled. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Scroll Rack.
Scroll Rack, homies. Scroll Rack is being reprinted. I think that's long overdue. Long overdue. The last time I remember they printed this was in that like Commander Anthology set or whatnot. And it's since spiked so much in value. It's not on the reserved list. Definitely deserved a reprint. I can get behind that. I only have one, and I don't feel bad about them reprinting it.
So that did take a turn down recently when it got announced as being as part of the list.
Mm-hmm.
That was also is this the list copy? Yeah, this is from the list.
So what is this little section here that you see on the site? I think our picture is covering it up on the output here, but you see this on curve equivalence part? What the hell is this? Is this cards that curve like this card? Because if so, how friggin' nuts is that? That just means this was long overdue for a reprint. So if you're listening, I'm just assuming that this little section that it's so esoterically labeled. It says on curve equivalence. I would assume that means on the price curve, like, you know what I mean, and how they've kind of stayed and maintained and gone up.
Price curve, not mana curve?
Yeah, I guess you're right. God damn it. Never mind then. I was going somewhere with that, but I guess it could be mana curve too. But then why did they select like the most ridiculously expensive cards at 2-drop there? That's so weird. We're looking at like Chaos Orb, Time Vault, Ankh of Mishra, all these old ass cards. They choose like the oldest versions of them. And I could imagine they would sort of curve the same that this card did with their price. But yeah, Winter Orb, like the Antiquities printing of it. We're looking at like some weird ass pictures.
And that's an old Howling Mine.
Yeah, old Howling Mine. God.
Excuse me. And this is compared to the Masterpiece Invention, so it's definitely not related to the dollar value.
Could be a double entendre over here. I mean,
that's interesting. Now, I wonder if this price is going to move at all.
Oh, you're talking about the Masterpiece version of Scroll Rack?
Yeah.
I doubt it. I think that from what we've seen, they have to legitimately reprint that Masterpiece.
Yeah.
In form and functionality.
Dude, another Rings of Brighthearth. Just they're making sure that the value is in these boxes, so that people want to crack this set.
Right. So wait, this is something I must have missed. Are they reprinting that too? Oh my God!
Rings of Bright High, Staff of Domination. Damn. Thought Vessel, not expensive, but that's a staple. Burnished Heart, staple. Arcane Signet, that's on my list to sell, people. It's almost a $5 card right now. If you have any more copies that you don't need and you think you can sell them right now or trade them, do it now.
Yeah, it used to be a lot higher than that too. And here's the thing with it. They're bringing it back in booster packs at uncommon.
Yeah.
So that's...
Well, and this is... When you asked me, do I think that they're going to do Jeweled Lotus like they do Sol Ring? That's what they've done with Arcane Signet. So Arcane Signet was originally launched as a Brawl Precon mana rock. And people were like mind blown that there was a 2-mana Wooburg mana rock that they put in a precon deck, and they were stupidly expensive. And then the next precon deck, it was in that too. And then the next precon deck, it was in that too. And in the draft set, it's in that too.
Crazy. Yeah, let's hope that they don't do that with this Lotus, or maybe they do. Who knows? But like, you can see that there's definitely some value in that Wooburg, what you're talking about. And by that he means something that taps for mana of any color.
Yeah.
Like, you could throw that into that mana rock goes into any commander deck.
Yeah.
So like there's inherently value in it. And it's the same thing with that Lotus. Like it just goes into any commander deck, dude.
The Diamond series is reprinted.
Wow. At common too.
Yeah. Commander Sphere is reprinted at common.
And they're printing the opposite. Yeah, we talked about this before too. They're printing the opposite of the
Battle Bond lands.
Battle Bond lands, yeah.
That's the only thing that I can think to call them.
I want to call them fast lands because they're almost like those fast lands, but it's not quite. It just Commander fast lands.
That's that.
Battle Bond lands.
Battle lands.
Yep.
I don't know.
I like them.
This was the other land that I was telling you about. War Room. 3-tap, pay life equal to the number of colors in your commander's color identity. Draw a card. So this sort of incentivizes 1 and 2 color commanders.
Maybe. I don't think if you're running the 3, 4, or 5 color commander, you're probably going to run a colorless land anyway.
Well, not very many, no.
But if you're starting at 40 life in most tabletop games, even paying like 3, 4 life ain't bad.
To draw a card.
Especially if you're donating 4 mana to it anyway.
Yeah.
This card reads, it's called War Room. It taps for a colorless. Just a land comes into play untapped. Taps for a colorless. Or tap 3 mana, tap it. Pay life equal to the number of colors in your commander's color identity. Draw a card.
Oh, this is cute. A colorless Karoo land.
Colorless Karoo? Oh, no way. That's
enters
sweet.
The battlefield tapped. When Guildless Commons enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand, and it taps for 2 colorless.
That is cool. Those Karoo lands are sweet, man.
That's actually really clever. So we have some cool ass reprints in this set. This is the time to get yourself a Rings of Bright Hearth. This is the time to get yourself Scroll Rack. This is the time to get yourself a Mana Drain if you don't have one, and a Vampiric Tutor if you don't have one.
In our experience, it's usually, and we've talked about this on the cast before, usually around 2 weeks after the set drops is when the cards will generally be at their lowest. So once it drops, give it about 2 weeks. If you notice, just keep a keen eye on it. Like if you have one of these cards that you want to get, just keep a keen eye on what that price is doing. But just know, probably about 2 weeks after it's printed, it will or reprinted, the price will tank most heavily.
Sorry, Brad. We had the screen switched over, so I didn't see the chat. But were you saying that you were ordering your Mana Drain when it got down to 60?
I'm ordering at 60. Yep.
That's what I think he's talking about.
I think that's a decent idea right there. It's not bad. I think it will probably go down and bottom out at that, or around there.
Yeah. I mean, and it's one of those things where I do this myself all the time. I hardly ever get cards at their absolute bottom, because there's this J shape with a reprint where it goes down, it goes down, it goes down, it bottoms, and then eventually it starts to come back up. And you can play chicken all the way with the bottom, and then it starts to go up. And you think, oh man, I'm going to pay $5 more for it or whatever. I don't care if a card like Mana Drain that I know is going to come all the way probably back up to the top of that curve, and I'm going to get a full U shape out of it.
Yeah.
Then when it comes out and it's 80 and it drops down to 60 and then it drops down to 50, I have absolutely no problem with buying it at 60 or 55 and then watching it go down to 45.
You were talking about this concept, buying in the U, right? Yeah. And if you can imagine, it's never really a bad idea if you're buying it when it's going down, if you know the card's going to go back up.
Yeah.
Like if you have a pretty good inclination, like don't hesitate and try to wait for the absolute bottom, because it's really hard to tell where that's going to be. But like even if you buy these at $60 and it goes down to 50, you know damn well that Mana Drain will go up quite further than that. You know, once it's around for a year and they don't reprint it again.
Well, and it's you can either min-max your dollar or you can min-max your time.
Right.
And so you can invest your time into checking the price on Mana Drain every other day for the month after it gets printed, and wait for the day that you see the price start to go back up and buy it. And then you know, okay, I didn't get it at the lowest price, but I got it just above the lowest price. And you can feel good about that. So if we say 50 is the floor on this, and then it goes back up to 55 and you get it for 55, that's fine. If I bought it 2 weeks before that at 60, I'm not going to feel bad if 4 weeks later or 8 weeks later or 6 months later, it's back over 60, because I knew it was, like you said, I knew it was going to get there eventually. Yep. And I would rather just get it while the supply is high, which is my thing for really hard to find cards.
Yeah, and here's another interesting concept. If you're keen on the investing and you're a old school Magic card aficionado like us, or at least like me for sure.
you have not used that term in probably like 20 episodes. Aficionado.
Aficionado. I don't know if that's a real word, but listen here.
Listen here, chat.
If you crack a foil Lotus from this set,
sell that son of a bitch.
You could technically trade it for a Lion's Eye Diamond, and I think you should.
Geez, that would have been a great line to go out on, but I wasn't ready for it. But you're absolutely right. It's just like pre-release prices of the cards that people think are going to be super cool in standard, and the pre-release price is $60 or something. You get rid of that card.
Dude, I always used to be that guy that I'd go to the shop and like, I remember this is when I played at a certain game store. I won't name any names, but every time I'd go there, I'd get so much shit about like, oh, you just play with expensive cards. I'm like, nah, dude, I just got these cards when they were stupid low, like when they came out in standard, or like, and I just held on to them. Sorry you didn't do the same. You know what I mean? That same concept can be applied here, man. Like some of this gas that you can crack from these packs, you could use this as leverage as the months go by to trade them for some of the cards you might have been specking on or wanting for a very long time. And it's like I said, you could definitely, at this point, with current prices, if you crack to foil one of those jeweled Lotuses, I just find it very funny that the actual price is very close to the card that they blatantly jacked and reprinted there.
All right, so last card that I want to talk about, because this actually goes into my snap this up this week, and I can't find it for the life of me. Maybe Brad or Andy or somebody knows. There is a card in this set that is Mirror Gallery on a stick. It is the legend rule doesn't apply, and it's a partner commander. I thought it was blue. And I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. Boom.
Right at the top.
Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. This is a 3 and a blue for a 3/1 legendary creature human rogue. Rogues are popular right now. You may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature you control, except it has the other abilities of this creature, which is partner, and the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. So
that's a odd one.
That is an odd one. And so the thing that
I love how they just keep printing better versions of Clone, because Clone used to be the nastiest card in Magic at one point, one of the nastiest, and it has yet to, prove its worth. So they just keep printing these even nastier Clone cards at 4 mana, and this one is even splashable. Like this isn't even the impersonator, which one I'm talking about, the 2 mana and 2 blue impersonator. This is even better, even more splashable. It's got the 1 blue, 3 colorless, and does some rotten shit.
So it's funny. I just brought up Mirror Gallery, which is a 5 mana card from Betrayers of Kamigawa. It's a 5 mana artifact. The legend rule doesn't apply. Has never seen really any competitive play. Sitting at about $16 because it's been 150 years since it's been printed. Sakashima, I think, will lead to a very fun EDH deck. It may be that this is in the 99, because this can copy your commander in whatever the deck is. But what I want to point out with this is going to spike cards of similar effect, because one of the things that you will find, we find this in Modern, we want more than 4 copies of something, right? So when you find another card that does the same thing, you get that copies 5 through 8 effect. The consistency lets you do your thing over and over. The thing that this wants to do is really weird.
Well, also, you want to know something that's really weird about it that I just thought about, which
What's
is
that?
Awfully odd, is this thing can copy Kiki Jiki. And you have an infinite combo right there.
You're a gross sumbitch.
Like, you get Kiki Jiki, and then you're just like, yeah, oh, sweet, I got that. And then you just cast this guy, and the game's over. Like, you just make a copy of Sakashima with all of its new abilities.
That copies Kiki Jiki.
Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, it's... well, at that point, it wouldn't need to enter as a copy. It would actually be Kiki Jiki, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You could theoretically do it. I suppose, would you have to do it on the end step? You'd have to, I guess that's kind of the drawback there. You would have to do it on the end step before you attack. Like, you have to be like, all right, on your end step, blam, Kiki Jiki a million of these guys, and then take my turn. But still, just the fact, I'm just thinking of this shit as it's coming to me.
Yeah.
There could be way other broken stuff that this just inherently allows you to do.
So my pick for this is a very popular commander card, and a card that was a pet favorite of mine, Helm of the Host.
Nasty.
So,
I have another one. We should talk about that creature too before we go.
Oh yeah.
We got to talk about it.
Okay, just because that's another cool combo.
We got to tell what we had brainstormed before the cast with this.
If you don't already own a Helm of the Host, I would get one. This card has since printing, and most people, like, I guess I shouldn't say it like this, but it's not a card that a lot of people think of. You've probably heard of it. Probably a lot of people could even tell you what it does. Oh, doesn't that?
It's one of those cards where you look at it and you're like, meh, until you see someone play it against you and you're like, oh shit.
Right.
Like, and you don't want to worry about it because you don't want to admit that you were wrong, and then before you know it, it's taken the game over.
Well, I commented on, I think Slater posted that Sakashima on the Game Citadel Facebook page. And I said, holy crap, get your Helm of the Host now. And somebody said, oh, well, this already says that the legend rule doesn't apply. And it's like, yeah, but you want more than that effect. Like, you want the consistency of knowing you can have that effect, even if somebody has killed your commander 3 times. Or if you're using Sakashima as one of the 99 and not a commander, you want other things that do this if this is what your deck is built around.
I like it.
And it's just friggin' spicy.
I agree. I like this. I've never personally been a huge fan of Helm of the Host. I have been one of the haters until I see it played against me, and like it never feels good.
I'll
like
tell
I'm
you
like,
what.
oh yeah, I got removal, and then it's like you run out of removal, and that thing's still there.
There was a minute where I had that in Nekusar, and having non-legendary Nekusars for days, like that might be a reason for me to put Sakashima into Nekusar.
But now that's some fantasy magic right there.
That is some magical Christmas land. Speaking of which, I showed Cooley Amareth the Lustrous earlier today.
This is a 6-drop creature, right? It's Bant colors plus 3 mana. So 6 mana for a 6/6 flyer. And it says this. When another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it shares a card type with that permanent, you may reveal it and put it into your hand.
A permanent.
Another permanent. Anything.
That's artifacts, lands, creatures, enchantments, tokens,
artifacts,
creatures, artifact tokens,
and artifacts.
I think artifacts is going to be the easiest thing to break with this, but a lot of people are also talking about like the Simic stuff. So if you use this as your commander and you go with the Tatiova stuff and go in a lands theme, you could play a crap load of lands with this guy. But Cooley, tell me what you want to do with this naming artifacts, and this will be how we go out this week.
This is this like immediately popped in my head. Brad and I were like brainstorming ways. Like I immediately read the card and was like, okay, it's all right. But I was, he was like, well, how can we break this? And he's starting to talk about something, and I felt bad because I kind of interrupted him. But I said,
so you can interrupt me again.
Okay.
I talked about Smothering Tithe making an artifact token that would then let you look for artifacts on the top of your deck,
which is cool.
Light bulb goes off.
Light bulb, bang. I was like, well, why not just use Sensei's Divine and Top? It's like, that seems like a really good combo with this card. And that's like pretty easily, obviously very easily splashable in any commander deck. Like Sensei's Divining Top is practically a staple anyway in commander. And it just turns this into a, what's the card that just allows you to play cards off the top of your library? There's a card that does that. What card am I thinking of? Either way, it turns this card into that almost immediately. So what you do, in case you guys are wondering how it works, is when Sensei's Divining Top, you could play this combo like this. You play Sensei's Divining Top with Amareth on the battlefield. And when Sensei's Divining Top enters the battlefield, Amareth's trigger goes off. And it says, reveal the top card of your library. If it shares a creature or a card type with this artifact, put it into your hand. So what you do is, in response to that trigger going on the stack, you just tap top and activate it. And what top says is tap, draw a card, put Sensei's Divining Top on top of your library.
Then Amareth's trigger resolves.
And then you let Amareth's trigger resolve, and you drew a card and you drew top. Like, you're just always going to hit that trigger. It's always going to be there. 100% always going to be there. So, like, yeah, pretty interesting, man. So I like that.
It's pay one for infinite card draw, as long as you can pay one.
Right. It's like, there's another card that does this. It just allows you, it's been a pretty common combo. It's in blue. It's an enchantment for 5 mana, and it just says you may play cards off the top of your library. And people have done that with Sensei's Divining Top for a while. Like, you just play top, tap it, draw, tap it, tap it, draw, play it, tap it, draw, play it, and you're drawing 2 cards essentially, or, you're netting 1 card every time. But, yeah, pretty solid combo.
Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, Mike. And
I enjoy it.
And Brad and everybody else, Jason that was in the chat. We really appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. As always, I said it at the top, and I'll try and say it again. If you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you prefer to listen to your podcast the old-fashioned way, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Google Podcasts, just about anywhere. And if you can't find me, or you can't find this podcast to listen to, let me know, and I'll get it on there. Hey, man, you guys are the best. Cool, you got anything to go out with?
That's it, man. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys each week doing this. And thank you so much, Brad, Jason, everybody, for the kind words, the good suggestions, the support. We appreciate you.
Hey,
You got something for me before we go out here? You got one of those interesting things to leave me with?
Yes.
Oh, man.
We're not talking about the election. Peace.